Hi, I'm Darrell Day.
And I'm Burnie Thompson.
You know, we both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie.
Is your check engine light on?
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Don't pay for a diagnostics.
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Transmission services for $49.95.
Free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Welcome, and I'm glad you're with us tonight. I have a very special guest for you to meet. We've taken to calling this show the Whiskey Rebellion, and our guest has a special affinity for Scotch, and Scotch falls within the whiskey family. And if there's two things I love, it's family and whiskey. The best editorial writer in the country will be with us in just a minute. In 2006, I came to Panama City, and I couldn't wait to visit the newspaper. And when I went in there, I met a guy who just started as the newspaper's editorial editor, and his name is Scott Kent. I've gotten to know him quite well since then. Scott, welcome to the Liberty Lounge.
Thanks for having me. Nice joint you got here.
Glad to have you here. You haven't been in the new digs,
very nice.
The TV Liberty Lounge.
And you know, not even my wife can get me shaved and in a suit on Saturday for taking, so congratulations to you.
Well, glad to have you. Now, in 2006, when I went to visit you, and I think about, it's 2014, Scott, all of the things that have happened just since 2006. You have been a follower of the news since you were a little boy. I didn't start until I was about 28, 29 years old. And today I want to ask you about the top 3 or 4 things that you feel have happened in America and gone the wrong way. But I also think about babies born in 2014, Scott. Babies born in 2014 and things that they're never even going to know about. Do you think they'll ever know about the post office?
By the time they're in their 30s or something, it'll probably be a very different world of mail delivery.
Car keys.
Everything will be keyless.
They're already.
It's already there, almost there.
I'm the only guy, I swear, I'm about the only guy I know who walks around with a key. I actually open my car door.
You still stick it in the car? Boy, you're way behind.
And if I want the passenger door open, I have to push the button and walk around. How about books? I read an article in Money Talks, and they say books kids may not even know.
I think books will still be around, but even I, because of my eyesight, my failing eyesight, I have Kindles and iPads where I read books because I can increase the type size. But I still think books, there's some value in holding a book, especially an old book, a classic book. I think that's still going to be around.
You know, I learned recently on this show what a Kindle Fire is because my daughter Sarah said that's what she wanted from Santa. So I learned about it. Cursive writing.
It's already gone. I don't write cursive. Unless I do my signature, I don't write cursive.
Mine's gotten progressively worse. I'm sort of like the sign language interpreter at Mandela. Only I can understand my own gestures.
Yep.
Blind dates. Think about it. Blind dates.
You can see online who you're going to. You can look up their Facebook page or their other social media, so you know everything about the person already.
I met my girl's mom on a blind date. If it were today, I would be on Facebook trying to figure out who is this person. You can't. There's no such thing as a blind date.
My parents met on a blind date too. No more.
Well, we're going to talk about quite a bit today with Scott Kent, who is, in my opinion, the best editorial writer in the United States of America and the smartest guy I know about most of these issues. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie. At Gears, we're proud to offer you a complete transmission service starting at $49.95.
We also offer free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Lifetime warranties,
Transmission services for $49.95.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Hi, I'm Daryl Day.
And I'm Burnie Thompson.
You know, we both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101.
Kids will spend 8 minutes decorating their little brother.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
I met Scott Kent in 2006, and just since then, Scott, I think about what's been going on in America.
What a long, strange trip it's been.
From '06 to 2014, here we are. You're an editorial writer. I always thought I was going to end up as an editorial writer. My problem is I get to this town and I can't bump you because you're the best.
Thank you. I thought I used to be top 5. Now all of a sudden I'm the best.
Well,
Wow.
you know, I figure we got to pump up the TV show, you know what I mean? Well, what would you say is the greatest, what worries you the most, Scott? What going on in America right now keeps you up at night?
Gosh, where do you begin?
The rise of the totalitarian police
Just, you know,
state?
for the short term, right now, it's the sluggish economic growth, and I just don't see any bright light at the end of the tunnel. I guess statistically, it's been improving a little bit, but you just don't get that feeling, do you really?
No.
That it just doesn't feel, and there's so much uncertainty in the economy. A lot of that going back to Obamacare and other government interventions.
Compliance
in it.
costs.
But businesses are so unsure of what the future's going to be. The government changes the rules on a whim from day to day, so it's very hard for business to plan and to hire. So that you know, and I've got a son who's a freshman in college. You know, so I look at his job prospects. And you worry about that short-term future.
Yeah.
And
But if you read the newspapers, though, Scott, and you listen to the president, we hear there's a recovery. Now, I always ask, give me the indicators. Jobs? And they tell me, well, the unemployment rate is down to, what, 7.4.
but people are dropping out of the workforce. That depresses that number.
See, the unemployment rate doesn't count the people who are out of work. This is an incredible figure. We have 10 million fewer people now with jobs than we had when Barack Obama took office. 10 million people, 90 million people who could be in the workforce, not in the workforce. And when you add entitlement spending and fewer workers, how does this possibly get better, Scott?
And this is where wealth comes from. This is how wealth is created. Instead, we're looking at these artificial government ways to replace that. Well, we need to increase the minimum wage, or we need to transfer wealth. But that's not how the economy works. You have to have people employed, working, doing things, creating wealth, businesses hiring and creating wealth, and we're just not creating wealth right now. We're stagnant.
You know, Scott, for the first time, I hear my Democrat friends tell me, Bernie, the economy is doing great. Look at the stock market. And I'm thinking, a Democrat telling me to look at the stock market as though that's an indicator? What happened to the Democrats used to point to minority unemployment rates. They used to point to all kinds of things. Now they point to the stock market. Are you kidding me?
All those rapacious Wall Street traders who destroyed the economy.
The fat cats.
Now they're the leading indicator on it's doing a good job, right?
It's unbelievable to me. So we have 25 million more or so people on food stamps. We have 10 million fewer workers. We have $1 trillion being printed out of thin air and put into the economy. Let's take a look at the stock market. 14,000 or so. Do you really, Scott, think that the stock market is a good indicator of, does it reflect the value of the businesses? Or is it being propped up? Is it a bubble?
Yeah, well, it's been a bubble in the past, and now are we heading back, inflating it again? It is an indicator. I certainly would like a strong stock market. My 401k portfolio, yours, benefits from that. But there's so much more to the economy than just looking at that. And as I said, there's not enough hiring going on.
Yeah.
There's not enough actual wealth being created.
And that's the key. And it starts off right there. I'm looking at an article just recently, and
Burnie's little black book.
Yeah. This is not a little black book. This is a journal. Without this, I'm nothing. Do you know that? This is like Samson and his hair. I swear to you.
Burnie's
I ever lost this,
Burnie's brain right here.
I sometimes have nightmares that I don't have this, and I got to do a show. So
you know, it's the 21st century. You should have your little iPad sitting here that you're scrolling through. Here you are with pen and paper.
I wouldn't know how to turn it on, Scott. I wouldn't know how to turn it on.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, what was I talking about?
Oh, it's written down right here. You can pick it up right
Think
there.
about this, Scott. Well, I was reading an article. Even Martin Luther King Jr., even FDR, say that with more government jobs, we'll be injecting money into the economy. But let's start the story at the beginning. And I wish people would remember this. When you think about employment and wages that come from the Treasury are going to cause deficits. Wages that come from profits are going to cause prosperity. All jobs are not equal. Government jobs actually drain the Treasury. Real economy jobs actually lead to prosperity.
Create wealth.
Productivity.
Government jobs do not create wealth. It's just shifting it around inside
Absolutely.
the economy.
Dollars are going to be better off, aren't they, if they're earned and productive rather than political and awarded. So
Which are subject to politics
Absolutely.
and favoritism and all
Absolutely.
that other stuff.
If dollars were earned and fewer dollars were awarded, we'd be much better off. And if you think about how simple it is, if it weren't so painful and expensive and unpredictable to do business, we would do more business.
Absolutely.
Government needs to just get out of the way. The Heritage Foundation lists the economy as the third greatest concern for Americans today. And guess what they say the first one is? Health care. The very one that was supposed to be fixed in 2014.
Right. Oh, just be patient. It's getting there. It'll be fixed, right?
I remember about 2 years ago, I was enrolling for health care with some other DJs, rock and roll DJs, top 40 DJs at the radio station. And they were mad because of the price of health care. And I couldn't resist. I said, hey, guys, if you think it's expensive now, wait till it's free.
Wait till it's free.
And now they complain like you wouldn't believe.
Yeah. And you know, the thing that bothers me about this is a lot of this was forecast. People predicted this. They said, you know, this is going to happen. And they said, you're lying.
Yeah.
You're just flat out. Not
Scare
that you're
tactic.
wrong. You're lying.
Right.
You're racist
Yeah.
for saying that.
Yeah.
A lot of it's come true. So,
Well, you know, here's the thing I always say. 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. It's not 0. You can't say we're going to give more coverage at lower costs and better coverage, and it won't cost a dime. 1 + 1 + 1 is 3 every time.
That's right.
It's not 17. It's not 1.6. It's 3. And it had to happen. So what now, Scott? I mean, people aren't going to be able to pay 2 or 3 times more for their insurance.
I think Obamacare is going to collapse, and it should. The question is, what's going to replace it? Is the Obama administration, whoever follows it, going to use that as an excuse to say, well, let's redo it a different way now? Or are they going to learn that you shouldn't be trying to construct it that way? What's the lesson that's going to be learned from this? We just didn't do it right the first time, or that we should not be doing this in the first place?
Well, one thing you and I understand is government is not a corrective device. Government is not a corrective device.
The market is. The market is wrong sometimes, but it corrects itself. And
Yeah.
it corrects itself a lot faster than government can.
Well, let's get into that with Scott Kent, editorial writer for the Panama City News Herald. I want to talk a little bit about Obamacare, what it's going to mean to you, to your family, to all of us, to the economy, and what exactly we can do to make it better. When we get back with Scott Kent. Don't go anywhere.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie. We would like to invite you to Gears for a complete transmission service for only $49.95.
If your car needs belts, brakes, tune-ups, and more, we're the place to come to. We have lifetime warranties on our exclusive Gears transmissions.
Come see us.
Hi, I'm Darrell Day.
And I'm Burnie Thompson.
You know, we both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie.
Is your check engine light on?
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Don't pay for a diagnostics.
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Transmission services for $49.95.
Free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
Well, Scott, once you and I were sitting together and you had a little bitty glass. I mean, it was a little bitty, like a little hourglass, and you were drinking scotch out of it. I didn't know.
Single malt scotch.
I didn't know scotch glasses were this little. See, I can't use them on the show. People will think it's dainty. They'll start calling this a diary again if I do that. We got manly glasses and apple juice.
100 proof apple juice.
What is your favorite scotch?
You know, I like a really aged Macallan, but I can't afford that. So that's few and far between. My favorite scotch that I can afford is a Cragganmore.
Do you remember once you, me, and another guy went in on a bottle of your favorite scotch, and the three of us shared it? But we can't get into that right now. But I do want to get into Obamacare and the problems with Obamacare. You say it's going to collapse. What does that look like?
Well, like a big sinkhole in Florida, dragging everything into it, and it's going to pull the insurers down. And that's something to think about, is the insurers are going to lose a lot of money on this. And are they going to go into Washington to bail us out? Are they going to be asking for a bailout?
See, the way I look at it is I'm under the impression that insurance companies and attorneys are going to make a windfall for the first couple years. And they know that. And it was going to happen one way or another. Eventually, insurance companies are going to be obsolete. They're going to be run out of town, and we will all be dumped into the exchange that we're told is a marketplace.
It would become single payer under the ideal. And of course, there's a theory that that's what Obamacare was set up to do.
It's by design.
It's a conspiracy by design. It's to destroy the private insurance market to create an opening for a single payer.
But at what point does a conspiracy theory become the truth? I mean,
it doesn't matter so long as it comes to fruition, and that's all they care about. Is if they say, well, if that's what's going to happen, then it's what's going to happen. But that's
prices had to go up. So let me ask you this: if prices are going up, we've got premiums going up 2 or 3 times this year, 200 or 300%. We've got copays going up. We've got worse coverage, fewer choices. With all of this, where is the 200 or 300% difference? Where's it going? To attorneys, to navigators, to hospitals? But it's not going to doctors, and it's not staying in the patient's hands.
Black hole in Washington somewhere where it gets redistributed out. I mean, that's what a lot of, Medicaid is basically an income redistribution.
Absolutely.
We've got studies that come out now and show that it doesn't affect health outcomes. It doesn't prevent people from going to the emergency rooms. Basically, it gives them some more financial stability. So it's basically an income redistribution from the affluent to the less affluent. But is that really what you want Medicaid to be? Are there better ways to do these things than what they're doing now? And so that's what I think it is.
Obamacare, I have said, is a torture rack. I don't want on the torture rack. Obama himself won't get on the torture rack. It's like the Red Room of Pain. If you've ever read 50 Shades of Grey. Now, I haven't read 50 Shades of Grey. Me either. We wouldn't do anything like that.
No,
but I've heard about it.
Too manly for that.
But I've heard a little bit about it. And the Red Room of Pain, I never understood that either. That's not sexy. Red Room of Pleasure, maybe, but Red Room of Pain. Now, if I go in there and there's a torture rack and Christian Grey says, you got to get on that, I'm going to say, I'm not getting on that. You get on that. I don't mind coming in and looking around.
But if it's such a good thing, you get on it.
Exactly. And that's what Obamacare is. It is a torture rack that they won't get on, and they're making us get on. If you were the king, Scott, how would you stop Obamacare? How would you stop everybody from having to pay 2 or 3 times more? What would you do?
If I were king.
How about if you were the governor of Florida?
Yeah, well, obviously I'd pull the plug on if I were king. Unfortunately, we don't have these kingly powers. I just saw an article that had somebody arguing what we need in this country is like a king. Somebody to come and just do everything the way they want it done. Yeah, right.
Do you think the approach, though, should be a federal approach to slow down the pain of the torture rack, or should it be a state approach?
Well, obviously it should be down to a state approach, but you should also be able to sell insurance across state lines, so it's not contained in that. Yeah, there's a much better way to push it down and let innovation take over, have market forces affect prices.
Let's talk about that, because Republicans say they would like to repeal and replace Obamacare. If it were up to me, I would repeal it and go home. How about that? Repeal and go home. I think there are three things we ought to do to make health care more affordable and better. And they basically look like this. We should be able to buy insurance from anybody, anywhere, at any time. Number two, we should end the tax discrimination so that we could buy individual policies. And number three, we should have lawsuit reform. You do those three things, you empower the consumer, that is to say the patient. I mean, it's as easy as that.
There should also be a wide range of policies. There should not be government mandates on what a policy should have. If you want a bare bones, catastrophic coverage policy with very high deductibles, go for it. If you're young, healthy, and you just want to protect yourself against a car wreck or something, you should be able to buy that. You shouldn't have to have add-ons mandated by the government, such as pregnancy or that kind of stuff.
Scott, the reason people are getting cancellation notices, which former double Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi calls transition letters. The reason people are getting these is because Obamacare says the policy you like and have had this whole time is insufficient. The government is telling you
it's not. We decide is sufficient for you. We will decide what you need, not you.
It's exactly backwards. The government should never
thank us for for forcing you to buy this gold plate. You'll thank us for it. It's such good coverage.
It is absolutely insane. The government should never tell the people what's good enough for us. We should tell the government. And it's exactly backwards. And I'll tell you what I would love to see. Do you think it's radical, Scott? I'm going to have a friend of mine, Tho Bishop, join me and talk about state nullification versus another way to resist federal tyranny, and that is state constitutional convention with added amendments. I think there are two schools of thought here: how to stand athwart the federal government and say stop, as William F. Buckley might have said, and one is state nullification, and the other are liberty amendments. Do you agree?
I'd start with winning elections. You've got to win elections.
We did that in 2010.
I know that's well. You have to keep doing it.
See, I thought that, Scott. I said if we win elections in 2010, the Congress and the Supreme Court will save us from the executive branch. Instead, the federal government has colluded against the states and the people.
But you only won one branch of the one sub branch of the government. We have the House of Representatives. You need to win Congress, and of course, Republicans had Congress and the White House in the early 2000s.
That's right.
And that's one of the problems we have now is that they spent too much, bailed out banks, and all that other stuff. So I understand the frustration, but you have to keep chipping away at it. I'm not convinced that the standing athwart wins you anything.
So you think right now that there's a chance that the federal government can be reformed?
Yes, if people get I know this sounds pie in the sky. I'm always an optimist. People are already getting fed up with Obamacare. There is some hope there that people are realizing what's going on with that. That is an opening to elect people who will then. You need the public support to do that. You can't just get elected and then you have to have the public behind you. Obamacare collapsing is giving you the impetus, the amendment you need to have the public support behind you and do it.
Is Obamacare going to, in fact, be a blessing? Is Obamacare going to be a blessing? That's a question to ask. And when we get back, I'm going to ask you, how do we resist federal encroachments into our lives? Is Washington going to fix itself, or do states need to stand athwart the federal government and yell, stop?
Hi, I'm Darrell Day.
And I'm Burnie Thompson.
We both proudly served our nation in uniform.
And we still serve today on the radio, expanding freedom and protecting the family budget.
And using the airwaves to educate, enlighten, and entertain, and sometimes irritate.
So join us every day and link arms, and let's do our part to restore this republic.
Join me each morning, Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m.
And join me from 11 to 2 on Talk Radio 101.
Hi, I'm Jay.
And I'm Katie.
Is your check engine light on?
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Don't pay for a diagnostics.
At Gears, we will check it for free.
Transmission services for $49.95.
Free shuttle service in our Gears limo.
Come let my daddy fix your car.
I am really excited about next week when we have Tho Bishop join us, and Tho and I are going to talk about something that I think is a huge deal. How do we resist federal tyranny? Do we rely on Washington fixing itself? Can states get together and have a constitutional amendment and add amendments, or rather a convention to add amendments to protect us from federal tyranny? Or do we rely on states saying no, on state nullification? It's a conversation I can't wait to have with Tho Bishop next week. Meanwhile, don't forget you can catch us every day on the radio on Talk Radio 101, weekdays from 11 to 2. Scott Kent, thanks for being with us. And are you fundamentally an optimist or a pessimist?
I'm fundamentally an optimist, probably to my detriment.
Now, how could you be? I'm going to ask you what I always ask everybody. What indicators make you optimistic about this government?
Only my life experiences. In that I grew up in the 70s and very cognizant of the turmoil we had in the 70s. I was very politically aware thanks to my parents in the 70s. I remember Vietnam, Watergate, energy crisis, gas lines, Jimmy Carter, malaise, and people back then were talking about, well, maybe the American experiment just isn't working anymore. Maybe this is the end, the decline of the empire. Maybe the government just doesn't work anymore.
1979-ish.
72 to 79. But then what happened? We elected Ronald Reagan. We had Paul Volcker as head of the Fed to have tight money and cut off inflation. And we turned things around. And I've seen that in my lifetime. I've seen the pessimism overcome people, and then I've seen us turn it around. I still think we can do it again. I know it's a different country now. You've had a couple of generations of people educated maybe to think otherwise, but I still have enough belief in the American spirit, and I see it now with the backlash in Obamacare that maybe that's the opening to, again, be a teaching moment and tell people that statism does not work and that we need to reverse course, and somebody will come in and fill that vacuum that, like Reagan did in 1980.
I do believe this, Scott. I think there's a response to these kinds of things. There was a response throughout history to great tyranny, and I have yet to see what that response will be. It may not be a statesman. The response to this federal government may be enough of us linking arms together and resisting, and whether it's states resisting or whether it's a constitutional convention, remains to be seen. But I think that yearning, that stamp of freedom and liberty that God put on us is alive. I think it's being sparked again.
It has to be talked about widespread, like what you do.
Absolutely. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week.